What is going on, guys? Tonight, we're without Paul here tonight. We're just doing the live stream solo with me. So, I'm gonna be answering any questions with like Sony cameras, lenses. I get asked questions like every day about which camera I should get, which lens you should get. Now's a chance to come on in and ask them some questions and stuff. So, I'm working on a few different videos right now. So, I'm trying to get some other ones out soon here, but just been busy. So, trying to get something going for you guys tonight with this live stream. So feel free to drop in the comments here, you guys. See who's actually here. Someone eat more possum. I think you might still be watching Jake's live stream, which I'm not sure if it's over yet or not. Got a few people in here though. No one's wanting to jump in and ask that first question though. So, anyways, so it's Black Friday weekend's now done. Probably half the same sales are still kind of going on. So maybe you can still get some good deals on some stuff. I personally just picked up a lens myself that's going to be coming in the mail shortly that I'm way too excited for, way too expensive. But we got Eddie Nunez. What's going on, Eddie? Do you guys have something going on tonight? I didn't catch if you and Dobo were still doing that. A Dorschner J, what's up? What do we got there? Satellites? You guys can't see it on the stream, but what's going on? Eat more possum. No more drum brews. Jack, where have I been? I always see it at like all the time, but usually I'm pretty busy Wednesday nights, or we're doing the stream with Paul. Paul's got some other stuff going on tonight, so he's not here, but I'm definitely here. We're gonna talk some cool Sony stuff. It's been pretty interesting the lineup of cameras that Sony's just been pumping out. Like I can't believe how many cameras they just keep they keep. It's like every 2 weeks there's like another camera announcement or something. It seems like, which is it's fun. It's interesting. It's sometimes for people it's a little bit like, well, now I need to get the new one. So I'm definitely falling into that camp with the gear acquisition syndrome. What we got here? POV walks with roving Cyclops. Yeah, I bet the hook bought the FX30. That's a sweet camera, dude. Nobody wanted to buy my Sigma Trio, and it seemed like it was a waste not to use them. Dude, those lenses are going to be absolutely awesome on that camera. I haven't used the actual FX30 myself yet, but I did use the A6700, which is almost the same camera minus a couple little bells and whistles. But man, that's an awesome camera. It's a very underrated camera, and it's a very, I mean, like price wise, that thing is awesome. And then being able to use all those like APS-C lenses, like those Sigma lenses, those are like my favorite, mostly inexpensive set of prime lenses for APS-Cs. That 16, that 30, and the 56. Like, what more do you really need for that camera? Unless you get like a zoom or something. So, yeah, it's stabilized. I wish they had the dynamic stabilization though that the ZVE one has, and now like the A9. That was absolutely like a game changer on that camera. When I first got to use that camera out in Sweden before it even was announced, that was the one thing that me and like Peter Lindgren noticed right away. Was like, what is this? It's got some weird stabilization on it, and we tried it out. And we're like, yep, gimbals are a thing of the past. They need that on every new Sony camera. What's going on, Armando? Good to see you in here. Still rocking the FX3 2 years later, man. I'm shooting on the A7S3 right now. I got my ZVE1 behind me and a bunch of my other cameras. That FX3, man, that is. I still don't know why I haven't really like sold the A7S3 to switch to that. I mean, we saw this year what you can do with that camera. Obviously, with the right crew and production and lighting, you can film a multi-million-dollar budget movie with that camera. People keep saying like, when's the new one going to come out? Honestly, I don't think an FX3 version is going to be anytime soon, because they just they do like firmware updates on that camera versus like the A7S3. We're still sitting here waiting for that. But yeah, that's I can't wait till the next edition. You know, if they make a new FX3 having some of those better stabilization and autofocus points, though, that's going to be awesome. It's great because the body's stabilized for those primes. Yeah. Yeah, Eddie just said it right there. He likes the Mark II version of the FX3. Honestly, if it's becoming like if it's starting to become like an industry camera that gets used more, I kind of wonder how long that one's going to be before they actually do release a Mark II. Like I said, they keep pumping out those like firmware updates with time coding and all the other stuff. So it's maybe don't even need a new one of that one yet. If they made a Mark II, for sure, that'll be my next big purchase. So my other purchase I just did is I finally picked up the Sony 70 to 200 Mark II. I used it about a year back. We went to New York, did a bunch of photo shoots. I actually used that on like the ZVE 10, and I got just incredible photos with that camera. I was trying to prove that you could do good photography with the ZVE 10 because I think a lot of people underrate how good that camera can be for photography as well. So I brought a couple lenses, but I also decided to bring that 70 to 200 just to kind of go to the ridiculous end of how good that camera could be. So what's going on, Dave? What's the question? Hey, Kyle, killer intro, man. Thanks. That's the one we shot on the A6700. I just kind of decided to recycle it for our live stream intro. Gonna upgrade to that A6700 birthday present. Absolutely good, awesome camera. 3 lenses I would recommend. Honestly, it really depends on the kind of content you are creating. If you're doing, like that Sigma Trio is an awesome way to start if you're doing prime lenses because they're not terribly expensive. It's a 16 millimeter f1.4, a 30 millimeter f.14 or 1.4, and a 56 millimeter f1.4. So that's kind of like an 85, a 50, and like a 24 in full frame equivalent. Those are just outstanding lenses. They're sharp as can be. They're that super fast aperture, and like they're not expensive. So if you're looking for something that's a little bit more all around, I would check out either like the Tamron 17 to 70. That's a very good focal length for that camera, and it's actually stabilized as well, so it works really good with the stabilization of the camera. It's a little bit pricier. I think it's on sale right now today for like $699. Normally it's like $800. Otherwise, I tried out on that last video that Sigma 18 to 50. I was pretty darn impressed with that lens. That thing is really sharp for what it is. You get some really good images out of that. In fact, I got some of these images in here right now. Let me pop those up here. So like here's a couple of the shots I did with that the Sigma 18 to 50. Got some pretty sharp images. Maybe they're not showing through on this video that well, but you can get some really nice photos with that camera, especially if you put better glass on. But that lens, I think, is like $499 or something like that. 18 to 50, good focal range for that camera. I was quite impressed with that. Before, I was thinking 17 to 70 is always the way to go with that, but I like that one a lot. If you don't mind the f4, that 18 to 105, it's a little outdated at this point, but it still works really good. It has that power zoom lens, which is really nice. It has kind of just a different look to that lens that kind of has almost like a built-in, I wouldn't say diffused look, but it just has like a different characteristic to that lens that I really like. So let's see what else we got here. Do I own the DJI Pocket 3? I do not, Eddie. I've seen it. It looks awesome. It's like a stabilized footage. It's 10-bit. It looks really sharp. The only thing I don't really like about cameras like that is that you're stuck with a focal range. So if you're going to price that compared to another camera, like out of the box, it might look better than like a ZVE 10, but it's when you compare like the fact that you can't switch lenses on it. I know there's like a wide angle thing you can add on to it, but it's just, for me, it's a fixed focal range, and I just don't like that on most devices. Unless like GoPros are very specific for what you use them for. But if you're just doing like vlogging and don't care about that thing is awesome. A6700 versus ZVE1. Now that's the debate of the year right there. Both of them are 10-bit color. They're almost the same camera as far as like what they have for features. They have the kind of the same menu system, the same touchscreen. One's full frame, one's crop. 4K 120 on the other without the crop. That's pretty sweet. The ZVE one's a little bit more expensive, so if you want to spend a little bit more, that's great. The A6700 is also fantastic. Probably a better photography camera than the ZVE one, being that 12 megapixel sensor. But the low light on the ZVE one is just better all around because it has that 12,800 ISO. So kind of depends on what you want to use it for. But the I mean, like I have the ZVE one. I don't have the A6700 yet. I actually just borrowed mine when we used it, but I was very impressed with the A6700, and I think for $1,400, that thing is probably maybe the camera of the year for what you get. In fact, what someone told me before is what it kind of actually is like an A7 IV in crop mode, because that's what that sensor basically is at that point. So you get some pretty fantastic looks at that camera. I wish it was a little bit cheaper, because if Sony made that thing just a tiny bit cheaper, I think it would be the hottest selling Sony camera that they had. Right now, the ZVE10 is still like their biggest seller, because it's a $700 camera and it still looks great as well. So the Viltrox prime lenses, what's going on, Dave? I haven't personally gotten to use a lot of them. I did see some before in the past when I was hanging out with Curtis, but I want to try it out more. I think from basically what I get is that they're still really quick with autofocus. They have really good looks. There's that Viltrox. I think it's a 135, maybe something like that. That looks really intriguing to me. They're a really good price though, and I would definitely go check out like Curtis Padley's channel. He's been doing a lot of reviews and like POV photography shoots using that lens, or lenses from Viltrox. I think they have a new 16 millimeter that looks really cool. I would like to try out more of them. I haven't purchased any, and they have never reached out to me for the lenses. So what else we got here? Canon M50 or Canon R50 or the M50? Honestly, this is like a question that it's hard for me to answer, because I've used the Canon M50. Wasn't a big fan of it, especially compared to some of the Sony ones. And I haven't really used a lot of the more recent Canons in the last few years, so I don't really have the greatest opinion on that. I'm sure. I mean, there's really not any bad cameras anymore. I think every company's putting out awesome cameras, just stacked with features. I just personally like Sony's, and I've kind of stuck with them, and that's all I keep buying. So, Jake, long time no see. Well, I clearly see you're done with your live stream. So, I was keeping an ear in on yours, even though half the time it's drone stuff, and I'm still rocking the Mavic Air 1, Jake. I can't believe it. I still have yet to buy a new drone. I need to go get that 107. I think that'll inspire me to actually buy a drone again. Having that, not having any like commercial license, I just can't use any of the footage half the time. So it's been really like, well, I'll be a purchase down the road. So, yeah, A. Dorschner, it's he would lean towards A67 unless you need some insane low light. It's a $600 difference in those cameras, so it's definitely like look wise, you get almost the same look other than the full frame part of it, and that's a hell of a camera. If I didn't have the ZV one, I would probably in a heartbeat have the A6700. I just happened to buy the other one first. So, Jason, gym teacher, is in the house. Jason, when's your next video coming out? Been waiting, man. I shouldn't talk. I mean, I put out videos like once a month. It seems like right now. Been really, really busy lately with other stuff, working full time. Let's see what else we got here. This is a lot easier when I'm with Paul, because one of us can be reading the comments while we're. Oh, thanks, A. Dorschner, for the super chat. Yeah, is that I know there's a couple other people in here that have probably shot some Canons. Does anybody else got any opinions on the R50 and the M50? I haven't used them personally, so I can't really totally get into that. So I feel like I missed some questions here. Jake, you gonna go back to NAB this year? I think we're starting to kind of plot the book the trips here, because honestly, like 5 months out from Vegas, it gets to be like the cheapest for booking and flights and hotels and stuff. So, Eddie, I got to make it out to New York here soon too. my wife's doing like 2 months of like different internships around the country. One of which is going to be in New York. If I can try to make it out there, that'll be awesome. It's been like a year since I've been to New York, so Jake, 100% going to NAB. Yeah, it's fun. NAB is great. If you guys ever have a chance to go to NAB, it's in Vegas every year, usually in April. It's a really it's if you're a camera nerd or camera geek, you're gonna love going to places like this because it's like Comic Con for camera gear or filmmaking tools, and lots of really cool people to hang out with, meet up with, stuff like that. Jason, hopefully this weekend getting something edited. I'm in the same boat, Jason. I have my Osmo Action 4 video to still edit. I've been sitting on that thing for too long. I haven't even like uploaded my footage from Mexico on it, so I honestly don't even know what I have yet for footage. Hopefully it's something good because I have to get that out. I was going to put out a couple things on Black Friday this year, but I just ran out of time. And sales just really weren't as great as I would expect them to be, or they have in the past. The one thing that I did find though is I upgraded once again to a new external hard drive. This is the Samsung 990 Pro. This thing is a lightning fast SSD, and then I have the Thunderbolt enclosure that you can put it in. This is the 4 terabyte version. The thing that I've had in the past when you get these like these SanDisk ones or like the T5 and T7 is they're really nice for storage. They're fairly cheap, but if you're using a MacBook Pro like the modern ones, those are Thunderbolt ports. They're not 3.2 ports, so they max out at like 800 megabits per second, or maybe 900 if you're lucky. My computer itself does like 4,500. So I was trying to find something that was going to be better than that 990 or 900. But this is a Thunderbolt enclosure, so this thing now does like 28 to 30,000 megabits per second. So the write speed on this thing is just insane compared to those other ones. And honestly, like it wasn't even that much more expensive. The one that's on my computer right now, which is the 980 Pro, I think I paid like $250 for the set. Plus, then you get like a really rugged, like external casing that's a good heatsink. So, if you guys are looking for some sweet backup drives, or even if like you're like me and bought the 1 terabyte at MacBook, I like running all my projects off the drive instead. This is the one thing that I found, and it's still I think is on Black Friday sale maybe. I don't have the link in my description, but I can maybe put it in there later. But if you guys are looking for a sweet drive, that's that Samsung 990 Pro. They have a 2 terabyte and a 4 terabyte, and I think they're still on sale. Otherwise, yeah, Black Friday sales. Anybody else find anything that was like worth jumping to the Black Friday sale to get? Because it was pretty scarce unless you wanted to buy like an old A7 III or something to that effect. I wasn't seeing a lot, so going to ask how it goes along. Yeah, I mean the drive works great. I just have it Velcro to the back of my MacBook Pro, and it connects right into the back with the I bought a Thunderbolt 4 cable, so it's maximizes the speed that you can get. So honestly, it's the best drive that I've used. So it's not as like portable necessarily as one of these because it is a little thicker and it is maybe not as friendly for backpacks, but it's nice metal heatsink. I've never had a problem with it. I haven't lost any info. Speaking of losing info, I have my entire Sweden trip on here with Peter Lindgren. When I plug it in, it doesn't show up anymore. But it says there's still a terabyte of space being used on here. I just can't figure out how to get it to show up now in the file folder. So I might have to call SanDisk and figure out how the hell to get that back. That's why I really went away from these things too, is because they're not as reliable, and I think a lot of people had problems with that as well. I've always been a Samsung like T7, T5 guy before, but didn't see anything excited Black Friday at all. Yeah, there was like package deals, A7 III. I think the ZVE10 went on $100 off. There's been a couple lenses that went $100 off. I think overall Black Friday in general was just like retailers seem like they're really pissed that no one came in and bought stuff. But like, what do you expect when you put like $0 off sales or like fake your sales? I think that people figured out pretty quickly that these aren't on sale. They're just being marked as a Black Friday sale. So yeah, the Jake's right here. The SanDiscs have been having huge reliability issues for the last couple of years. So I got a good deal on mine last year. I thought it was great with Black Friday, and I didn't have any problems with it. But then like a couple weeks ago, I plugged it in to get some stuff from Sweden on there, and it's not there. So I think I did do a backup on my like really slow, like 14 terabyte drive that I have behind my computer, but I haven't checked to see if it's there. But I'm gonna be really mad if I lost all my stuff that it was shot on there, because we did some pretty epic stuff out in the edges of the ocean and rocks, and it was really cool. So yeah, there is gonna be some cool stuff coming out though from Peter Lindgren here in a couple days. You guys want to keep watch. He's got a new product that's coming out. Mine's in the mail. Hopefully I'll have mine shortly here too. But yeah, that's going to be fun. Whether you're Canon or Sony, I think, or Nikon shooter, there's going to be a product that's getting released, announcing, I think, Friday. So keep a lookout for that. Yeah, Paul's doing some work for Film Lab right now, so that's where he's at. Not sure if he's watching or not. I told him before if going solo goes south for me, I might have to have him jump in, but I think he's busy. So, Jake, I do want to make it out to Alaska at some point one of these years here. I'm not sure when the best time to go is, because I mean, like, winter is probably not that fun in Alaska unless you're really into like snow stuff. I mean, I'm from Minnesota and I hate going outside in the winter, so I'd be intrigued though where the area you're at. If is it like nice and green grass and stuff in the summer, or is it still snow and mountains? But yeah, seeing a lot of the stuff that you do, Jake, with all the helicopter stuff and glaciers and some of the like greatest looking footage I've seen in a long time with drone shots flying around helicopters. And I know that takes like a lot of communication with obviously the pilot to be able to get that to do that safely. So I don't know. Did Jake ever I know Josh came out there with you. Did he ever get his videos out from Alaska? Or are we still kind of waiting on those? Mood TV. Recently purchased a ZV-E1 and only have the kit lens coming from the first camera being ZV-1 or ZV-1. Torn between one lens I can buy for the product and review, blogs, and suggestions. If you're doing more vlogs, you're going to want something on the wider end. So I would recommend something, if you're looking at like budget-wise, like the Sigma 16-28 is a really good lens. Not terribly expensive. The Tamron 17-28 is a good lens. Out of the two, I would definitely steer towards the Sigma. If you want to spend like $2,000 or even like $1,000 used, the Sigma, or sorry, the Sony 16-35 G Master Mark One, you can find those relatively cheaper now used. That's what I'm actually shooting on right now is the 16-35. If you're looking for a one and done lens, I would check out the Tamron 28-200. Let me actually grab it. It's a fairly like compact lens. It's kind of a strange lens where people don't really know a lot about this or don't really even remember them putting it out. It's an f2.8 at 28, and then it goes up to an f5.6 at 200. It actually looks really good still at f.56 in 200. And I mean, this is one of the most versatile lenses you can get, having a 28 wide angle to a 200. So, and I think you can find these for like $400 or $500. But that's a really good one and done lens if you're doing a lot of like traveling or if you only have one lens ever. But yeah, otherwise, even like the Sigma 24-70 is good if you can find a good price on those. I feel like once I've gotten my other lenses, I haven't really used that one as much because it is kind of heavy. Yeah, it looks like Jake agrees here too. The Tamron 28-200's more vlog and stuff. Check the 17-50 f4. Yeah, that's a good one too. There's a couple other ones they put out too. There's like a 20-70, I think from, God, is it Sony? I think maybe, I can't remember exactly on that one. But you'll definitely want to stay towards the wider end. If you can find something that's more versatile, that's, a wider angle to more of a zoomed in, that's great too. But because you have the ZV-E1, you do also have crop mode on that camera or in like a zoom rocker. So you can zoom in on your image if you need to, which is really cool. And I think that power zoom, the 16-35, also works with that zoom rocker. So you don't need to use the crop mode on that. But I honestly also did use the 10 to 18 like APS-C lens on that camera, and like if you just put it in dynamic stabilization, it's like a 12 millimeter, and it's wide as can be on that too. Interesting look, anyways. So Jason, probably going to get a crop Sony soon, so my wife can have a second shooter. Yeah. Still debating which one. I mean, at this point, like the A6, if you haven't bought one yet, the A6700 is such a fantastic. It's literally, Jason, take your A7 IV, put it in Super 35 mode. That's the A6700. But it also has better autofocus. It has better stabilization. It has a better menu. It has some more features on the touchscreen. So it's got some cool upgrades to it. And it has the A6700 has the autofocus system now that the A9 has. And the A7R5. So it's kind of fantastic how awesome it is, especially since you can like do autofocus on like bugs, trains, cars, planes, humans, animals. You can switch it to animals and birds combined. It's pretty awesome, the focus that you can put in that camera. Yeah, so Jake said, yeah, summer. Definitely we're going to have to make it out there at some point. And it's a little bit of an expensive trip because flying up to Alaska is probably not too cheap, and I'm not sure how expensive it is to actually stay in hotels out there. Let's see here. Sony, okay, it is the Sony 20 to 70. Yeah, I couldn't remember if that was Sigma or Sony. Thanks. Looking for the 16-35 f4, but don't really know if. Uh, it's such a weird thing with that f4. Like, I use that lens for. We did a trip where I went to a cabin. I have a video on it on my page if you want to find it. It looks very similar to obviously the 16-35 G Master. In fact, it might be even a tiny bit sharper. But the f4, it kind of didn't give me any bad effects as far as like most of the time you're not getting crazy blurred background. Like right now, this is an f2.8, and that background's 12 feet behind me, and it's not super blurred. The f4, the only difference is that it was a little bit harder to film at low light. So if you're filming a lot of low light stuff, but you also have 12,800, so it almost doesn't matter on that camera because you can just jump to that and then control the rest with your aperture or shutter speed. I've done that plenty of times with that lens, but it's half the price. But if you're trying to find, I would check out the used market because the 16-35 G Masters have been popping up a lot for like $1,000. I know Paul just bought his for $1,000. The one I have, I bought for like $1,200 a few like months ago. So if you could find one of those, and honestly, like the reason I actually had pre-ordered the Mark II 16-35 GM, but I canceled it because it just like it wasn't enough of an upgrade for me to spend an extra like $1,400 on top of selling this one. So I kept my 16-35 G Master because there's really not. I don't think there's really anything wrong with it other than it's just a little bit big, but that 16-35 is good. If you're in doubt too, go check out a place called like lensrentals.com. You can rent like anything that they have there for 1 to like a month, 1 day to like a month if you want, depending on how much you want to pay for it. But that's where I like test out a lot of lenses that I think I might buy down the road because you can get them pretty cheap for rent. See if you like them, and if you don't, you lost a few bucks, but at least you didn't spend $2,000 on a lens or something like that. So lensrentals.com, not sponsored or anything like that. So, but yeah, that's where I picked up my 6700 and my 18 to 50 lens that I took down to Mexico last month. Let's see here. What does he say here? Tamron 20. Oh, yep. Sorry. I already read that one. Yeah, I'm still waiting to see what they're going to put out this year, though. I kind of expect Sony to put out some more new lenses this year. I think there's a lot of different lenses that are needing an upgrade at this point. Starting with, I know it's a weird lens, but that there's one lens that is very popular. It's one of the only ones of its kind, but the one that they have is very fidgety. It's kind of slow. That's the 90 millimeter macro lens. I'm waiting for them to make an upgrade to that. I think they're going to make I honestly think they're going to put out another 50 millimeter lens, maybe something that's a little bit cheaper, maybe a new 85, because the Sony 85 is not the greatest thing on the planet, and it's a little old at this point. Still kind of expensive. Personally, I use the Sony Zeiss Batis 85, so I'm not really going to jump to that lens necessarily right away. But I think there's a handful of lenses I'm expecting the Sony to actually put out this year, and I'm really excited about that. And I'm really hoping that companies like Sigma maybe get more into competitiveness with the things like a 1635. I don't know why Sigma hasn't come up with something like that. I don't know why they have to stop at 28. That's always was kind of my downside to the 16 to 28 was it stops at 28. But if you're paying $400-500 instead of $2,500, it's what you have to. It's the small little thing that you have to pay the price for. So what we got here? 1635 f4. It's an ancient lens these days. I don't know. It still feels like it's a year and a half old, I think, at this point. So, are you talking about the? Oh, you're talking about the old f4. I'm talking about the new one. Sorry, Sony put out like a year and a half ago, the 16 to 35 f4 power zoom. It's a definitely way more compact. It has a power zoom lens. It's a like focus by wire and zoom by wire. It's definitely a cool lens if you have like a zoom rocker on your camera. So if you have the FX30, FX3, ZVE10, ZVE1, that's a sweet lens because you can just do it all from the zoom rocker. But yeah, the old F30 16 and 35 f4 is definitely, I think, out of date at this point. So you can also find those things pretty cheap at this point too, which is nice. So. I would love an update for my Sony 28 to 135 power zoom. I forgot about that lens completely, actually. I don't know. Even if Sony needs to make some new updates to their lenses, but if not, I think Tamron and Sigma need to also make new versions of a lot of those lenses because there's just not as many out there as I'd want right now, especially being like how many Sony cameras they keep pumping out. You think they would also like match it with new lenses. I know they started making like compact lens versions for like the A7C and A7C2. So if you really like the small compact stuff, that's kind of fun. But I feel like they kind of just stopped all of a sudden with the lens productions. And I feel like they need to be ramping that up to match the amount of cameras they keep putting out with this company. And they've been putting out other things too. Like they've been bumping out the microphones. So they have like the B10, the B1M, the BM1. They have the most ridiculous names for microphones, but those are these kind that like attach to the top of the camera. When these things first came out, I was like, they're way too expensive. I don't want them. My microphone sounds better. And then I used them and realized that the auto function mode on those microphones that just capture and auto gain and kind of auto compress are absolutely worth the amount of money that it costs for those things. Because now I just drag my footage into my timelines and I don't really do anything to them anymore. They're loud enough. If anything, I have to actually down them like 1 dB, or even maybe sometimes clean up the EQ if it's like getting reverb and echoes. But it didn't even matter that it didn't have a cable. It's just the fact that auto gain switch, total game changer for me. That's one of my favorite things that Sony started putting out this year with those microphones. So hopefully they continue that trend and make them cheaper. That'd be great. Jake, you bought that the M1 microphone, right? I think you said you did that. It's awesome. Yeah, you put it on the camera. You don't touch anything. You don't set your volumes. You just record, and that's the best thing about those microphones is they work and they sound great. I think they're starting to sound a lot closer to like the like Rode NTGs and things like that. They could still get a little bit better. I'm like an audio engineer, and I think there's a little weak sounding in some spots, but that function alone is just it makes me lazier because I don't have to check my gain, but it's nice. Yeah, you have the the Sony new wireless system. I haven't checked that out yet. I want to see what that's about. Too good to pass up. It's the same function that came on like the K3M, which was nice. If you're using like external shotgun mics, but it's not, built into their own mics. So I would like to see them make those microphones work with some of the other Sony cameras that are a little older. I don't know if there's a way to do that or if there's some kind of feature you can switch this one of the settings and to make them work. But I think that when they put out that new ZVE1 Mark II, it didn't work with one of those microphones, and that was kind of a letdown for I think Sony to not make that feature, make those new cameras work with their microphones as well. But yeah, there's some cool stuff I think coming in this year for Sony cameras. I think they'll probably be putting out, like, they'll probably keep the trend going where they put out a new camera every couple months. Hopefully, I don't know, it gets kind of old every now and then where you get happy with the camera, you find its limitations, and all of a sudden this bright, shiny new one comes out with the features fixed that you didn't have on the other one. So it's kind of like they're pulling a little bit of an Apple game where they keep putting out the improvements of the flaws that the first one have, but only make them slightly better. And I don't know. It's kind of exciting that how far they've came in even just like 3 years with Sony cameras. But it gets expensive if you feel like you have to keep upgrading. But having a channel too, when you have to show off a lot of this gear, you tend to upgrade your cameras more often than you probably would. So that's that's where we're at with people like me on YouTube, where you're always having to buy the next newest thing because that's just kind of how it works. So I would love to get that A9, but the A9 Mark III is like $6,000 or something like that. And if you're buying a camera that expensive, you better be making good money with those cameras because it's just way too expensive for a hobby. But yeah, that camera, that new A9 that Sony's putting out, is single-handedly going to be making Canon shooters switch to Sony, or making people who've not shot Sony their whole life want to look at that camera. I know I commented to one specific YouTuber who is like a F1 photographer. He's got a pretty good channel. And I asked him if he's going to check out that A9. And he said he saw it. And he's like, it's going to be pretty hard to pass up a camera that can shoot perfect autofocus and 120 shots in a second, especially when you're dealing with cars that are doing 200 miles an hour. So he said he's definitely going to be borrowing one of those in the future. And he's like a long time Canon shooter. So that A9 is pretty freaking magical, but $6,000. So the thing with Sony too, though, is that like give them a few months, and somehow or another they'll put a lot of those features in a cheaper camera and make all the people who bought the A9 kind of mad, because that's another thing that Sony likes to sometimes do. 24 to 50 f2.8 by Sony. I kind of don't remember that one. I know they have obviously the 2470, but was the 24 to 50 a pancake lens maybe? I'm going to look this one up because I'm a little curious about that. Or is the 24 to 50 a APS-C lens? I'm not seeing it. Yeah, I guess I'll check that out later too. I wasn't familiar with the 24 to 50. So yeah, the Sony stuff is gonna be pretty fun. I'm hoping they put out a ZVE10 Mark II this year. I think that would be a good camera. They need to keep that in that same budget range. That ZVE10, as it is right now, is one of the best starter cameras I think you can get with interchangeable lenses. I hope they make a second one where they have maybe the sensor. Maybe they use the sensor from the A6700, and maybe they just don't add like one of the features or something, because you can't obviously make a camera half the price that has all the same features. So I'm excited for that. I would hope that they put out an A7S4 at some point, or at least maybe firmware update for the A7S3. We've been asking for it for 3 years. Okay. He says it's a rumor of an upcoming lens. Yeah, I mean, 24 to 50 is cool focal length. If the lens is smaller and lighter, for sure. If it's not, I would say that 24-70 is an awesome lens too. You don't get much more versatile than a 24 to 70 on a full frame. That's just like a really good focal range for a lot of stuff. So, for me, though, once you use that 70 to 200, you'll like not want to go back to wide lenses. So, yeah, I haven't been paying attention to like the rumors, Sony Alpha rumors and stuff. I used to watch that all the time, and It just seems like a lot of times they don't. It's stuff that they tease that just isn't coming out for a long time, or it's just a rumor that wasn't real. So, um, plus I know on being that I've done some Sony stuff, there's times where they miss stuff altogether, which is nice because it's nice when things don't leak. So yeah, but I think it's gonna be an exciting year for cameras in general. I think they're just gonna get better. Lenses are gonna get better. I definitely want to start making a little bit more content. I'm going to be trying to do a little bit more traveling this year as much as I can. I'm still doing very much a full-time job while my wife's finishing school. So like trying to balance more YouTube videos and full-time job at a hospital is gets pretty tough. Hence the reason why I'm not putting out weekly videos like I was for the longest time. Um, but yeah, every time I can get a chance to travel, I love traveling. And while I do a trip, I always have like, well, now's a good reason to rent a lens or get something or buy a new product and do a video on it while I'm there. Um, so what does he say here? Yeah, he hasn't missed the last calendar year. He used to miss often. Yeah, there's been a few things that they didn't get, but yeah, most of the time we know everything about the camera long before it's even released. So the Sony M1 mics, they didn't even know that was coming out until it was announced by Sony. So that one definitely did not get leaked. I think that might have something to do with it, though, that only like 4 people got their hands on that mic before the release. I was one of them. So maybe that was Sony's way of trying to find out who leaks products. I don't know. So I'm glad it didn't leak. So yeah, I should probably check to see what they think is coming out here soon too. It's always intriguing to see the stuff that people want. So what else we got here? Yeah, as far as gear coming, like this year, I haven't really bought a lot of new stuff. I bought a lot of like bags and travel stuff. Been really heavily into like the Nomatic bags lately. I just actually bought the new a new divider for my Nomatic McKinnon, the smaller bag. I always had the two smaller ones. I decided to get the large camera cube this time, so I could have like a slightly different layout for different occasions. So, um, but yeah, the if you guys haven't checked out, like my favorite thing I think this year that I got was the Nomatic sling. That's this cool little small bag. I never really cared for this bag until I actually got to try it. And it was like I can get my camera with a lens, another lens, all my stuff, my microphones, my SD cards, my Polar Pro stuff. Like I was surprised that I could fit almost half the stuff in my backpack in a small little sling. And it's been making that drive or traveling with that thing like incredibly nice to just bring like a small bag and the sling, and that's it. So, and then you can actually use the sling inside the bag instead of the camera cube, so that you can actually have the backpack and then take the sling out if you need it as well. So, if you guys haven't checked out any of the Nomatic stuff, I think they did just put out an entire camera line, like camera bag line as well, or at least they did a Kickstarter for it. So, I think those will be coming soon too. Those look pretty interesting. They look more like neoprene looking, but the Nomatic sling, I think it's probably still on sale even right now, but it's I think like $119 or something like that. It's not that expensive, and it's like super high quality bag. Like the materials they use on this thing are just absolutely rugged as can be. They're pretty much waterproof. The way they have the zippers, the sling's cool because it has that little like elastic strap that you can kind of like hold the bag shut while you're shooting and not have to like zip it shut. So, but that's been like one of my absolute favorite things of this year was that bag, which is surprising because bags usually don't really terribly impress me. They either work or they don't. For the longest time, like bags, I always thought I had something I liked, but then there was always things I hated about the bag. Most recently, the smaller McKinnon Nomatic bag, I like how they have the zip from the top, and then if you kind of rearrange your camera cubes where you put one laying flat the way it's supposed to be, and then you tip the other one upward, and if you take the like shelf thing out the top, you can actually put your camera with the microphone, everything attached in there, and then just like open the bag, pull it out, and it's ready to go. And that's the big thing for me is like, can I open the bag, take my camera out, and be shooting within like 30 seconds? Yes, you can with that bag, which is awesome. So now with these like different Sony mics though, you can usually pop those in pretty quick anyways. So I guess it's not super time saving sometimes, but yeah, I have like 19 camera bags, and by far those are my favorite ones. The other ones I had some favorites, but they kind of wore out really quick, or I found the flaws in the bag after a while, and they're just not as durable. So these like Nomatic things, you can like throw them off a cliff and they survive. So you do get what you pay for on them. They're a little bit more expensive, but that sling is awesome. Let's see here. Questions have been slowing down. What else you guys got for me? You got any questions on cool stuff? Cameras, lenses, lighting? Oh, you know what? Actually, tell you what, I got some cool one. So I was gonna do this video. I filmed this like a year ago with Sidney DeYoungson down in Texas. I just never finished anything with it. I never went back to film more. Dave Mays, or Dave Altizer, kind of said like you should go get real film for this camera and then go reshoot that stuff. I never did it, but it seems fitting now that it's relevant with the time or date. Maybe it's we're a few days past, but this is one of my favorite cameras that I own. As right now, it's basically just a paperweight because it doesn't do anything because I don't have film for this. But this is the Bell and Howell 414. What's really cool about this camera is this is the camera that Abraham Zapruder shot the assassination of Kennedy on. So, like in its day, this was the equivalent to like an A7S III. This was the camera that was like kind of the high-end home movie camera, especially this one because this one's a power zoom. So it's a really interesting camera. I do want to get the 8mm film for this, but it is a very unique film and kind of hard to come by. So at some point maybe I can finish this video. But the this camera, I shot this kind of fun thing in Daily Plaza. I can kind of quick show that here. I just never finished the video, and I do need to eventually finish this video. But check out this clip. So yeah, what I was going to do with that clip that I used in that, I was kind of doing a documentary on like the best like home movie back in the day, like a camera that you would use for like home videos, high end wise, versus like modern 60 years later cameras that are high end like the A7S III, and kind of just see like what are the differences, how far they've came. In the situation of the Kennedy film, would it having an A7S III actually made a difference, or would it have made like more questions? So it's just kind of amazing to me the differences between those two cameras. And then the one thing I was going to explain too in that video is that that film that we've all seen a million times was actually not even released for like 15 years because it was held under it was the owner and like the FBI wouldn't allow it to be released, so no one even saw that. But nowadays, like videos are posted instantly on your phone and stuff like that. So a lovely piece of functional art. Yeah, that's kind of what that is at this point. I would love to use it, but yeah, like I said, the film it's kind of hard to come by because it's like a double 8mm. It's an 8mm that you run through once, then you take it out, flip it backwards, put it back in, and then run another one. And then when they develop them, they actually slice them in half and then tape them back together and then develop it like a 16mm. So it's a hard film to come by. Plus, I'd be kind of worried that I would screw up the exposure or something on it and then have all of it be a waste of money. So. But yeah, Dave Altizer said that we at some point should go back down and refilm this documentary between these cameras using the real film in the site that we shot it at. So, but I think it would just be kind of fun to just shoot on an 8mm camera. And there's just something about that look that's real when you shoot it on real film from a camera that's 60 years old. So be kind of fun. I don't know. As much as it's fun just to pop open a, A7 whatever and just start shooting, there's something fun about like having to precisely set up everything and not like you can't delete and retake something. It's just you waste the film if you have to reshoot something. So I think it makes you slow down a little bit. So it'd be fun to shoot film. But yeah, that's one thing that I was going to try to get done this year that I just never got done. Just a video that's more of a fun thing to make or entertaining to watch instead of just like a gear review. That's channel. When I started this channel, I definitely didn't want to do just gear reviews. I did want to make fun videos that are kind of mixed with gear reviews, or kind of do what Josh Yo did, where he made like kind of a film, but then it had stuff in it that you were reviewing or using the pieces of equipment that you're talking about. So I need to get back more into that. It's definitely more time consuming. It's definitely more thought process and planning that goes into making videos like that. So, but yeah. So far this year, I haven't, other than the lens I just bought, I haven't bought any Black Friday sales really or anything else other than that, the lens and that backup drive. So, but yeah, we're getting to about an hour here. So if you guys got any more questions that you want asked, answered, or if you just want to throw some cool out, what's up out there, just go ahead and put it in the comments. Not sure if we, don't think we saw Paul tonight. So yeah, he's definitely been busy all night. Jake, did I hear that, if you're still here, did I hear you're going to be in like Chicago in a couple weeks? It sounded like you were saying on your stream. Let's see. All right, what do we got here? You have a Sony A7 IV, sold your Tamron 17 and 28. Regret it, but want to get the 12 to 24 and the 24 to 70. That's a good combo. That 12 to 24 is kind of pricey. I know Paul, who normally does this live stream with me, he has that lens. He uses it almost entirely for obviously real estate photography and video because of its width. But that's an outstanding lens. I believe that's a G Master as well. That's a good combination though. It's hard to say 24 to 70 if you want to maybe get like a prime somewhere in that range instead, or I don't know. I kind of like having a wide lens, a prime, and then a zoom lens that it's like a higher focal length. But that's for me. I also do have the 24 to 70, but that tends to like stay at home when I travel a lot because the one I have is the Sigma and it does weigh a lot. It is pretty heavy. Usually I'll bring like my 16 and 35, a 50 or an 85, and then like, or even like the 28 to 200 or something. But that's a sick combination of that 12 to 24 and 24 to 70. Pricey, but also slightly on the heavier side, maybe too. They're not the lightest of lenses. Now, if they could just make like a 16 to like 200, I'd be happy. They could have 2.8. The thing would just be ridiculously wide, though, I'm sure. Yeah, they definitely need to, it's like with these ZV cameras that they keep putting out, which is supposed to be like the Gen Z vlogger. That's what it stands for from Sony, one who told me that. I wish they would make these lenses that were more based for those cameras that are like more vlog usable or compact or just in general, like have more of a versatility to them. So yeah, man, absolutely. Yeah, that 12 is fun. The only thing with the only downside of the 12 is it's a bubble front lens. So it's, you can't get like a traditional ND filter on there. I don't know if they have like a stackable ND you could put in the back of the camera. You might be able to get like Sony might sell little ND inserts you could put in the backside of it. But I mean, you can always obviously just crank the shutter or the aperture as well, depending on the use of it. So, but that's kind of the one downside of that 12 millimeter is that it is got that convex front on the front. So, All right. Do I think the Canon R100 is a good camera? Um, like I said before, I'm not the biggest Canon user. I used to use Canon about 7, 8 years ago. I haven't really kept up too much with their stuff. Um, if it's one of the newer ones, I can't even think what the R100 actually is right offhand. If it's one of the newer lenses, then or cameras, then it's like you can't really go wrong with anything that's 2 years old or at this point. Everything from almost every manufacturer that's been coming out is like a really good camera, especially compared to a year or two ago. I can't personally speak for the Canon R100 because I've never used it myself. So I switched to Sony 7, 8 years ago, and I got really happy with their cameras, and I've just kept in that space since then. So they have what I like, and I'm used to them now. And last time I actually looked at a Canon, I was so confused on like how to change any settings and stuff. My cousin brought me his camera, and he's like, "Hey, can you help me set this up?" And I kind of looked at it. I was like, "I have no idea what I'm doing. This is completely backwards from what I'm used to knowing." And everyone talked about how the Sony menus were really complicated. Once you know them, like anything else seems the same way. So but yeah, if it's a newer camera for sure, it's probably still going to be good. I just don't have experience with it. So um, yeah, most recently the cameras I have been using are the A7S III, the ZVE1, the A6700, the ZVE10, um, and all of which is like you could make a video using all of those cameras, and it'd be hard to tell which camera is what at that point. Like you could throw in an iPhone or a Canon clip and still probably not catch on it. Just cameras have gotten so good now, especially since half of these cameras have switched to 10-bit color. You can grade the heck out of these things and make them bright and uh, very contrasty or saturated or unsaturated. You can do so much with all these modern 10-bit cameras. Um, yeah, DP Review did a very decent look at the R100. Check that out if you're interested in buying one. Yeah, I would say go. He seems to know more about that than me for sure. So go check out DP Review. Yeah, I have nothing against Canons. I mean, like obviously everyone likes to make fun of the cameras they don't use by saying, "Oh, the Canons overheat" or "Sony overheats." Or I just back in the day I was using like little vlog cameras. I think it was the I can't even remember the name of it. The little Canon flip out screen point and shoot. And then I also had like the Canon T2i and the um man, what were they? I used a bunch of the old school Canon stuff, and then I switched into the A6400, and I've just never gone back. Yeah, at some point here I'm gonna I think change my room up a little bit again. I have this desk that's behind me. That's normally an L desk that I can kind of put here, but that's stand capable. I put a big toolbox in here at one point to help organize my stuff, but I feel like this just gets in the way more than it helps sometimes. Um, so yeah, I'm gonna maybe try to switch up my background a little bit at some point. Nice thing about having all these different lights too is you can just throw those things anywhere and change your background out pretty quick. So I might spend this winter rearranging some stuff. I like the idea of having like multiple angles in a room, being able to set up your camera in different spots quickly. I hate having to walk in here and go, well, this is the setup I want today, so now I have to rearrange everything. And then tomorrow it's like, oh, I need to use a standing desk, so now I have to clean everything, push it back. I just want to be able to walk in this room and just like be able to start recording no matter where I'm at. So I'm gonna try to rearrange my lights and desks and stuff so I can just kind of be a little bit more on the fly with how I want to film stuff. Oh, and the other thing I got to get done one of these days too is I bought this cool thing. I don't know if you guys have seen this company, AlphaGuard. They just make really fun like camera skins. I've been sitting on this now for like 3 months. I got to put it on, but it's this cool like hand drawn style, kind of 2D look of a camera skin. Looks fun. I haven't I just haven't gotten around to actually putting that together. So one of these days I'm going to do that. What else do we got? Yeah, so I think that's pretty much all I got for you guys today. Like I said before, there wasn't really any great Black Friday sales. If you guys are looking to like cage out your cameras, Condor Blue had some really good deals. I'm not sure if they still have those or not. I know a lot of these companies like to extend their Black Friday sales. Um, so if you guys are looking to like rig out a camera with like cages and all sorts of stuff, go check out Condor Blue because these guys make some pretty sick stuff as well. This is kind of my production setup for when I'm doing like film projects or when I'm working with the like locally grown comedy group, and I have to have like a more stuff on the camera. I usually use like my um, wireless image transmission stuff so I can send a feed to like the producer and stuff like that as well. So, but yeah, if you guys are looking to rig out stuff, go check out Condor Blue. They got some really awesome stuff. I know they had 20% off earlier, but I'm not sure if they still do or not. But yeah, anyways, guys, if I think I'm going to call it a night here since we're slowing down on the comments and questions. So, anyways, you guys, if you haven't subscribed yet, I'm sure you probably already did subscribe because you probably wouldn't see this feed otherwise. But go hit that subscribe button. Any of the like stuff I've been talking about in the video between the lenses and cameras, I did put a bunch of links in the description down below if you guys want to click on any of those. I do get like a small commission from them, but it doesn't charge you anymore. It just helps out my channel because I literally just dump all this money back into buying stuff to review and whatnot. So, but anyway, you guys, thanks for sticking around the live stream, and we'll do this again soon. Hopefully next week, maybe Paul's back. We'll catch you guys on the next one. Later.